Hi everyone, welcome to On the Other Hand. I'm Ariane Zurcher, and this video is made in answer to a question that my friend Laura asked. Why do I make these videos, and why did I start? So, and what does it bring me? Why do I continue, and how does it affect my work and my process? So I thought, okay, I can do that. My first YouTube video was on how to do needle turn applique left-handed. And that really was the beginning, because I was trying to do applique stuff, quilting stuff, hand stitching. And when I went to YouTube to find out how, because I'm visual, so a YouTube video is much easier for me than reading in a book, there was no one. There was literally no one teaching left-handed people how to do these kinds of things. And it was so frustrating. And so I ran into my friend Anna Bates, who many of you know has two YouTube channels. And I mentioned to her, and I knew she had a YouTube channel, and I mentioned to her, and she said, "Oh my gosh, Ariane, you've got to do this." So we can blame all of this on Anna, because she was really the beginning. And so we talked all about it, and she gave me some tips and some ideas. And then I went to my husband and I talked to him, because he owned an ad agency and does branding and all kinds of stuff. So we did a whole brainstorming session, and he designed my logo, and he asked me a million questions, and I answered them, and he took notes, and then he put together like this whole thing. And when we were talking, I said to him, I want to start a YouTube channel that is how to, but left-handed, because there's some, I know it's going to be a small audience. And he said, okay, that's a great start, but Ariane, you're a cheerleader. We need to incorporate that into your videos as well. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay. Yeah. But it kind of stuck in my head. I love cheering people on. I love encouraging people, and seeing how some people need such a tiny amount, a modicum of encouragement, to then take these massive leaps and really go for it. And it's like the most thrilling and exciting thing for me. So it began as this pretty little idea, and it then expanded. And once I'd gone through all the various embroidery stitches that I've ever used, I mean, people would ask about obscure stitches that I'd never even heard of, and I'd have to look them up, and I'd think, well, I don't know, why am I doing a video about this for left-handed when this is a stitch I've never used, nor do I think I ever will. So at that point, I just kind of felt like, well, I've got this catalog. It's there. If you go back, you'll see, my videos from 5 years ago. But then what happened was, after I had extinguished all the different embroidery stitches and done a video for all of those, I started to just want to cheer people on, to have a place where I could really talk about the things that were passionate to me artistically, and also encourage people to follow their own muse. And at that point, I started to I was teaching quite a lot online, doing a lot of Zoom classes, and I started doing a class called Find Your Voice. That was huge, because I was at that point still having a lot of fear, but feeling like I was breaking through some of it. But I was still, my best shot was to feel the fear and to do the work anyway, which I was doing, and I was doing it a lot. But the fear was still very much there, and I was really trying to encourage people to, people would say, I took a class from so-and-so, but I just come out with having a piece that looks just like that person, or very similar. People would say, oh, I can see you took a class. And I've done the same, taking classes from people, and then, people would be able to say, oh, you took a class from Jane Davies, or whatever, because it was really clear. I really wanted to figure out my own style. I wanted to figure out how to get It's how to start creating things that were mine, that were very much an expression of me, unique to me, and not sort of derivative of somebody else. And so I did that workshop, and that workshop was powerful to teach, because I really saw how we are so frightened to own ourselves and to be ourselves, or at least that's how I have felt. I don't want to say that that's what other people who took the class felt. That was sort of what I realized as I taught the class, how embedded this stuff was. It was a great class, and there was really just wonderful, wonderful people who signed up for it and went on to do some really interesting and cool stuff. But then what occurred was I was feeling pretty burnout, and I was feeling like there was sort of a crisis occurring in my life. And so I pulled back from everything. And I've spoken about this before. It was a year and a half. I didn't do any videos. I even thought at one point, maybe I should just take the whole thing down. But my husband said, don't, just wait. You can take it down later, but don't do it now. A year and a half went by, and then I got a spark. And so when I started up in just this last July, I started making videos again, and all the things that I had treasured about creating came flooding back. But in addition, and this was always true, the people who watch my videos and comment have always been just hugely impactful. And now I can say that my favorite part about making videos is once I've published one, the comments from all of you. It is, and this was completely unexpected. I had no idea when I started this channel, which by the way, was February of 2020? Okay, so we know what happened in just a month later, in March. We went into lockdown, and I'm in New York City. People are dying at a rate that was so horrifying. It was like being in a science fiction movie that you did not want to be in. There was a mobile morgue a couple of blocks from us. The streets were empty. At 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, we'd all go out onto balconies, or we used to go up to our rooftop, or just people would hang out their windows with pots and pans, yelling and honking our horns in response as thanks to all the healthcare workers who were literally showing up to work, putting their lives on the line. Within, I think, the first 6 months, Richard and I knew 3 people who died. 3 people. And subsequently after that, a dear friend of mine died of COVID, and a couple other people have and still have long COVID, got very, very sick. We were in the epicenter. So as all of this is going on, and we were terrified. We were terrified to just go out. Masks were not available, so we had no way of protecting ourselves. And we live in a city of 8 million people. It's a lot of people. In any case, everyone was in so much fear, and, we're home. And I've started this YouTube channel. So I just decided, okay, that's all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna make videos constantly. And I think there were times when I was making like 3 a day. It was ridiculous. I mean, it's all I did. I would get up at like 5:30 in the morning. I'd go to sleep at midnight. I was working constant. People would call me, and I'd be like, I don't have time to talk, and they're baking bread, and exchanging recipes. And I have no time for any of this. I'm working. And that was really, that was incredibly helpful during COVID. It was a terrible time. And of course, everyone's watching videos because they're all hanging out at home, you know, working from home, hanging out at home. People are watching YouTube videos and doing like projects, you know, art and crafts and all kinds of stuff. And so my videos got a lot of traction right off the bat. And so it began as this very practical, I'm going to do a video for left-handed people. And then it blossomed into something that I could not have anticipated, which was a whole community of people who were coming and watching and were seeing the evolution as I kept going and telling me things about themselves, stories, their past. I mean, sometimes incredibly personal things that I just feel so honored to be the recipient of. And so that was that. So now cut to last July. So I start making videos again, and immediately people are coming to the channel and commenting and telling me that they're so happy to see me. I mean, it was just incredibly kind. I mean, just really to feel the sort of open arms of embrace of all these people that I've never met in real life, but who are welcoming me back and telling me that they've been thinking of me. And it was just incredibly, you know, very loving. And I just thought, I just want to give back. You know, I want to, and in giving support and wanting to be a cheerleader, what I get back from all of you is so much more than I could possibly give. I mean, I get so much from the comments. People will tell me about someone else that they're watching or some other artist that I've never heard of, and so I'll go and look up them. Or people will suggest a different material that I've never heard of. They'll tell me something that they did that made it, whatever I'm working on, easier, and so then I'll try that. Or they'll tell me, you know, I'll share something really personal about what I'm going through, and then they'll share something that they're going through that's really personal. And it's just this really beautiful community of people. It's kind of beyond words to express how huge this is, how important it is in my life. Laura, you asked, how does it affect my work? It absolutely affects my work. When I started working on that first vessel, remember that first vessel? I didn't have a clue. Like, I didn't know how I was going to do it. I was working flat and then trying to shape it on top of like this wire, and people were giving me ideas, and I was looking at those ideas, and that helped enormously. And I was trying to figure stuff out, and I was filming the whole experience, and people are like cheering me on, you know. So here I am wanting to be a cheerleader for everybody, and I'm getting like all these people are coming and cheering me on, you know. I mean, it was just incredible. And how it affects my work, I mean, the comments and all of you affect my work literally with suggestions and other things and all of that. But then there's another part of this which affects my work and my process, which is when I'm feeling really stuck, sometimes what I'll do is I'll just turn on the camera. And I figure, well, the worst that'll happen is I just delete it because there was like nothing to show. But usually what happens is in the course of just turning on the camera, something shifts and I'm able to start doing something. You know, sometimes it's just the act of getting in here and sitting down and committing, even if it's 5 minutes. And when I turn on that camera, it's kind of a commitment. Like, I don't even give myself 5 minutes anymore. I just say, just go in and turn on the camera, see what happens. And there's something about that that's incredibly motivating. So that's also a way that these videos have, I think, affected my art and my process as well. But I think the thing that has taken me by surprise more than anything else is the feeling of being part of a larger community of people. It's like this is the common thread that joins all of us. One of the things I started to do when I began making videos again back in July was I really wanted to talk about the work I've been doing, which has involved a lot of self-care, self-love. What I didn't know at the time was that work was going to affect me as an artist profoundly in ways I couldn't possibly have known. Because at the time, I didn't even know if I was ever going to come back into my studio and work. I mean, it just felt like impossible. But when I came back in July, and I'll never forget, I started working on that vessel, that first vessel. I'd never done a vessel before, and I had some chicken wire, and I hated working with the chicken wire, but I kept doing it anyway. And I had this moment where I realized I had been coming in every morning and working devoid of fear, and it was absolutely exhilarating. And I knew I needed to talk about that because I have talked about fear so much, and how it stops you in your tracks, and that voice that's just nagging and awful and says horrible things. And so I started to talk a little bit about that. And a couple people said they weren't, really interested. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to put it at the end of my video. I'm going to just do a little message about self-care, self-love, something a little more personal. But something about how was related to the work I've done and continue to do, by the way. And I'll put it at the end. So people who aren't interested, they don't need to see it. But what started to happen was people were watching the end of the video. And you can see on, like, if you have a YouTube channel, you can go in and see where people are looking and where they stop looking and what parts are interesting and what aren't. And I don't do that a lot, but every now and then I'll look at my analytics and sort of dig around and see what seems to be interesting or not so interesting. And those little end snippets were interesting to people. So that was amazing to me because I thought that's where, people were just going to shut off and not watch any of that. The more I started to talk about how important this self-care practice has been and how it's really revolutionized how I come in here and show up and the work I'm doing and how I'm feeling more and more at ease in my own skin and how I'm feeling more and more at ease with expressing myself through a artistic practice. And I could see how my work was changing. It was evolving so pretty quickly. I mean, from July, that first vessel, to the last one I did, which is like the Tower of Babel. A friend of mine calls it the Tower of Babel. That's a pretty significant shift. And now I'm doing this spherical sculpture, and I want to do more sculptural things that aren't, necessarily a vessel. Why do I keep doing these YouTube videos? Because I get so much from all of you. I hope that I give as much as I get, but I'm thinking I don't. I am thinking that I'm getting more. So here I went in, starting these videos, very much thinking I'm left-handed. I want to do videos that are going to help other people like me who are left-handed. And now I have a channel that is transformed into I want to cheer other people on. And in return, I'm getting all these people who show up and consistently cheer me on. So I continue because it is in my soul to be a cheerleader and support other people and encourage them. And if I can give just a little bit of what I've received, I'll feel like I've done a tiny bit of what I've hoped for. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this, because all of you have absolutely impacted me, my life, and my work.